The question is the amendment be agreed to, and I call the member for Layla.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, Deputy Speaker, this legislation that I rise to support today has been very welcomed in the community that I represent, because Lalor is home to some of the most community-minded pubs and clubs in Victoria, venues that are major employers, community sponsors and essential gathering places. Australians are a social mob. We like to get together, and having a beer together has been part of our traditions for a long, long time. Whether we're drinking beer out of a 7-ounce glass, a pint, a pot, a schooner, whatever part of Australia and whatever you want to label, the size of your glass and the beer that's inside of it, whatever brand you drink of beer, knowing that, I think things have changed with our emerging craft beer industries coming through. But when I was growing up, people were branded by their cars and branded by their beers, Deputy Speaker. In my house, we drank Victorian bitter. Not everybody did, but all of us agreed, and the parents of all of my friends agreed, that nobody drank Foster's. That was a rule where I come from. Our pubs locally continue these traditions, and it's a sector that's faced various pressures, particularly around supply chain pressures and post-pandemic recovery. And draft beer excise pause that comes in with this piece of legislation is a practical, targeted measure that delivers real support to the venue, to our social industry, if you like, to our night economies. Now, an overview of this measure. It pauses the automatic CPI indexation of draft beer excise for 2 years from the 1st of August this year, so that this prevents scheduled rises in August 2025, Feb 2026, August 2026 and Feb 2027. Indexation resumes in 2027, but from the frozen rate, creating a permanently lower excise trajectory. And this was welcome news across my community, very welcome. The measure has strong industry support, bipartisan backing and forms part of the Albanese Labor government's cost of living strategy. It's supported by other small business measures, including the increased excise remissions for brewers and distillers. And what does this mean in our venue? Well, like others, and what has been interesting about this debate is that we've had some insight into every electorate almost around the country as people take us on a tour of their social establishments. And I'd start locally at the Racecourse Hotel, my local, if you like, the closest to my home. It's one of Lawler's most iconic venues. The high draft volume means the pause will directly stabilise operating costs, support staff retention and help keep meal prices stable for local families. Now, most Saturday nights you can't get a table at the racecourse. It is booked out for the traditional pub meal by families. The last time I was there, I saw 3 or 4 families with very young children having a counter meal, a few multi-generational families celebrating Grand's birthday. It's that kind of pub. And when I walk into the Racecourse Hotel, to give you an insight into this hotel, in the traditional front bar, you'll still find workers in their steel-cap boots and their shorts or their long pants and their high vis, and then in the formal lounge is where we have our counter meals. The bar manager is a former student of mine. His name's Dave. And to capture the tone of this place, when I walk into this hotel, I am met by Dave, who I taught a long, long time ago, and every time, even if he's behind the bar when I walk in and take a seat in the front bar or the lounge, I get a nod and a wink and a hello, Senator, just to capture that Australian sense of humour. Leaving the Racecourse Hotel, I'd next go to the Bridge Hotel, which is my other local because it's the closest to the Lawler office. In fact, it's directly across the road. It's central to Werribee's nighttime economy. It's popular for live sport and social gatherings, live music, and this freeze helps plan operating costs. Now, this pub has a long history in Werribee. In fact, I've told this story in this place before. My mum was the first woman to be served in the public bar of the Bridge Hotel. It was a Werribee Cup night, And she went with Dad, who was president of the Werribee Racing Club at the time, and she just refused to get off the stool in the front bar until they poured her a beer. So she was the first woman. It's a pub now run by a very, very, very well-known Victorian group that run hotels, and it's an incredibly well-run hotel, and it even has a draft beer called the Werribee. Down the road, we'll have the Commercial Hotel Werribee. This pub was famous for a lot of years because the Geelong Football Club always stopped there on their way home from a game in Melbourne. They would stop and have tea at the Commercial Hotel, which was famous for its large lounge called the Granada. It had a huge front bar with beautiful billiard tables and still has. It's a Main Street institution for generations. The excise pause will provide certainty for entertainment, for functions and employment at the Commercial Hotel. The Park Hotel, formerly the Werribee Hotel, is a key location for family dining and community events, and the freeze will help it too with food and produce costs. Again, it's also a live music venue, so you can see how this freeze will help this industry plan things. It'll help them keep their employees paid and in jobs. We'll then go to the Italian Sports Club Werribee, a major multicultural and community hub built by our Italian community some 50+ years ago. It supports seniors' activities, junior sport, large family functions, the Werribee Soccer Club. It'll help it with its function prices and keeping function prices affordable and keeping its members happy. The Plaza Tavern in Hoppers Crossing, a large employer of local young people and students. The cost stability means casual and part-time jobs will be better protected there. Hotel 520 Tarneit, one of our newer establishments. It's a significant venue in a rapidly growing suburb. This measure helps venues redirect savings into staff, upgrades and better services for the community. Club Tarneit and Tigers Clubhouse. Both venues have a connection to the Werribee Football Club. They're important venues for local sport and multicultural events. These measures will help keep community hiring and event costs down. These clubs sponsor local sport in my community. As well as that, Churnside's by the river at the Werribee Football Club. Our local sporting clubs, whether they be soccer clubs or football clubs, anywhere where you are imbibing a beer that is draft beer, on-tap beer poured from a barrel or a keg, depending on which part of the country you want to talk about as well. Pubs and clubs in Lalor support hundreds of jobs, particularly for young workers. The excise pause helps protect those jobs by stabilising operating costs. It'll help prevent price increases being passed on to customers. The benefits flow through to food producers, to people working in transport and logistics businesses, maintenance contractors, local events, entertainers and suppliers, community sports clubs, as I've said, relying on sponsorship. Hospitality venues are essential social infrastructure in our fast-growing suburbs. They're essential social infrastructure in the Australian ethos. They host sporting presentations, fundraisers, cultural nights, charity events and family gatherings. These venues support social connection. You know, in terms of the events that I host in my electorate, the Italian Sports Club is often. I have my Lalor Heroes event there annually. I have my International Women's Day event there annually. Churnside's by the river. I host my Sports President's Night annually. These are places that are frequented by locals to catch up on weekends, to share stories. It's where we actually build the glue that binds us together. And the excise pause helps keep these venues open, active and accessible. And these obviously complement other cost of living measures introduced by this government, including tax cuts for every taxpayer, cheaper PBS medicines, expanded bulk billing, which is going off in my electorate, energy bill relief, paid parental leave expansion, super guarantee increases, not to mention the most important one in my electorate this week are all the young people, the 20,000 young people getting the text message just to say they've had 20% cut off their HECS debt. And isn't that being celebrated across my electorate? Deputy Speaker, this is just one measure that demonstrates that this Albanese Labor government cares about how our communities are getting on. We care about the cost of living, the pressures that that is putting on people in our community, and we care about how those families are getting on and how they'll continue to get along. We are continuing our cost of living measures to assist families in electorates just like mine. And I want to say to all of the members in my community, I wish you a very, very, very Merry Christmas, and I hope you all get to have a draft beer to celebrate Christmas this year. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.